Ever wondered how Terraform configuration files come together? In this session, our expert trainer will guide you through the essential building blocks of Terraform. From defining and declaring the input variable to understanding the variable block, we will cover the core concepts that make infrastructure as a code work seamlessly. You will learn the different ways to populate your variables and how to effectively declare and use them within your configuration. This session will not only clarify how Terraform configuration works, but will also help you to master the key skills that are needed to streamline your infrastructure automation. So get ready to elevate your Terraform knowledge and take your skills to the next level.
Now, let's talk about the variables. So we know that why do we use variables? Variables are useful to parameterize your configurations, make your scripts more flexible, more dynamic, your configuration. So for the same purpose, just like other languages or scripting, in Terraform also you can use variables. Okay. You can define that into your regular .tf files, or you can have a better approach by creating a separate file with a name, something like variables, and extension will be again same .tf, or there are some other ways. So there are different ways in which you can populate your values of variable. Okay. Remember, this is a very important concept and little bit confusing for the beginners, but if you listen carefully to my next 2-3 minutes of explanation, things will be very easy for you. I am talking about variables. There are two things in variables. Okay. One is you define the variable. Okay. You declare your variable. This is called declaration. And one is defining the value of that variable. Defining the value of your variable. Declaration should always be done in any of your .tf file. Any of your .tf file. When I say any of your .tf file, maybe it can be main.tf, it can be variables.tf, it can be project a variables.tf, any naming convention, I don't care. Extension should be .tf. All at the end, all of them have same extension, right? So Terraform will read all of them and will take care of my execution. Declaration should always be there in your .tf file. But when it comes to define the value of that, because you say, okay, I want to use a variable called var a. So this var a declaration you have done here in .tf file. But when you want to define the value of this variable, you can define the value of the variable in multiple ways. There are 5 to 6 ways in which you can do this. There are many ways to do this. I'll show you some of them. Okay, like you can put the value directly into same file, .tf file itself. You can create a separate file called .tf vars. TF vars. Okay, that's another way. Or what you can do is you can use environment variables. Okay, or what you can do, you can pass it from the command line on the runtime. Or what you can do, you can even take an input from the user. So see, I have told you 5 ways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 ways in which we can, pass the value of these variables. Okay, how? Let's do this. Let's try to understand this one by one. How we pass, how we declare the variable, and how we, define the values for them. So instead of going through the slides, let me show you this practically. That will be more clear. Fine. So going to close day 2, click on day 3 folder, which I already had. If I don't had, let me create and show you again. I hope it's an empty folder. Hold on. Yep, it is. I just want to recreate this and show you. So to create a new folder, click on this empty space, new, and give it name day 3. Fine. Let's create a new file. Now see how I will now try to use the best practices of HashiCorp. I will give one file name called provider.tf. Okay. And then I will give one file name called main.tf. And since I am talking about the concepts of variable, I will give one file name as variables.tf. So I'm breaking my directory structure. I'm saying, okay, I have three files. I can understand where is my provider configuration in this file. So I can copy paste my provider configuration from day 2 or day 1, from anywhere we can take it. Let's copy this secrets and let's put it here. So that is good. My provider is done. Save the file and all good. And now I will not come to this file again. So there will be almost negligible chances of doing any error in my provider block because I'm not going to touch that file. Okay. So that solves my one chance of removing an error. So provider is good. Now next, what I'm going to do is I will define my main.tf. So let's say that I am going to create what? Let's take an instance. Okay. That will be good example because that is faster also and easy to understand. So I want to create an instance. So you know how to do that. You use resource block and then you use the resource type, that is AWS underscore instance. And after that, you give a reference name. Let's say my name is a reference name. You can use any name. AWS instance needs AMI ID and it needs instance type. You can copy paste this from documentation. Now, since I remember these arguments, so I'm going to type that instance type. So it needs these two arguments for sure. I will also give tags so that I can identify my resource. So I'm going to say tags and as a map, I'll talk about this later. Let's put a tag. Let's say name is equals to, let's give it a name, Akhil instance. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this AMI ID and instance type from the variables. Okay. Just to show you how to define the variables. So what I will do, I will go to variables.tf file now. Here I will declare two variables. I will say variable. So I will use variable block. You can give any name of your choice. So I'm saying AWS, let's say AMI underscore ID. Pardon. Instance ID, for example. Okay, instance ID. This is my variable name. Now, the value of this variable, I'm going to tell you the first way where you can define this in the same file. Okay, so this is going to be method number 1. I will write this here one by one. Okay, so we're talking about method number 1. Okay, so where I'm going to declare the value as well as define the value both in same file. Okay, so I'm saying to define the value, we use an argument called default. Okay, default is equals to what value do you want? So let's take an instance ID. Which region we are using? US East 1. I think we already have it, so we can take it from here. Do we have any instance ID? Yep, let's take this one. That saves time. Make sure that you are in the same location. Fine. So there we go. So you see, I am passing the value in a variable now. It's not in my main.tf file. Oops, sorry, not this main.tf, this one. Let me split my screen. Easy to understand. Okay, you can see here, I don't have values here. I'm passing my values in my variable. Let's declare another variable for instance type. So let's say ins type. You can use any name of your choice. Okay, passing a default value. Let's say t2.micro, t3 or t2, whatever you want to use, .micro. Save the file. So now I have got a variables file where I have declared a value and I have defined the value for that variable. Now, how to use this variable here? I need to give a reference, correct? That AMI should call from this variable. So we use the keyword called var dot variable name. So I want to use instance ID. So when AMI is going to fetch the value, it will go to the variable called instance ID, that is this one. And the value of this will be allocated to the AMI. Same way for instance type, I will say var dot my instance type. So when it will look for instance type, it will go to a variable called ins type and will take the default value and assign it to instance type. And then we'll create this save. Okay, now look at the structure. I have got three files, main.tf, provider.tf, variables.tf. All of them have different information. Okay, this is my main configuration, right? That I want to create an instance. I am using variables. So what I did, I created a separate file for variables so that there is no confusion. Whenever I want to change the value of variable, instead of doing any, error by mistake in my resource, I will not do it. I will go to the variables file only and I will do the changes here. So it will remove the chances of any error to be done on the main configuration file. Okay. Now I've got files ready. I'm going to open my terminal. Let me give a plan and show you. I'm going to run init command. You see, when I ran init, it automatically picked up there is a provider definition into this file and it is installing my AWS provider. This is the best practices industry approach where not only, where you, if you have a very complex environment, imagine that you are creating 100 of instances. Okay. And then each instance has different subnet configurations. So then instead of putting everything in this file, you create a file named as instance.tf, separate file called subnet.tf, separate file called network interface.tf. So that whenever you want to do any tweaks and changes to any individual resource, you can immediately go to that file and do the changes. Now I will go for plan and tell me how many plans it will propose to me. There is only one resource. There is no two resource block, only one resource block. Okay, so only one plan to add. Okay. So this is the first approach where you do this. Method number one. So I will just write it down here. Method one, which was use variables.tf and main.tf. Let me zoom this little bit page. Yep, I think better now. And here I'm going to put the example. Example. The first file is main.tf, main.tf, and I will just put the content of main.tf. And then I will have second file as vars.tf. You can use any name of your choice. I'm going for a short name called vars. And we will have this variable definition. I will not give provider file. Otherwise, you all will start creating resources in my AMI ID, my account. So you know that. So that's okay. This is okay. This is okay. And this is okay. Perfect. This looks good. Now let's go to method number two. I will not do apply because it will take time and plan is good enough to understand the concept, right? If I do apply, it will just create this instance. So I'm not going to do that. Okay, fine. So this is okay. Akhil, we understood how to. So this method was to just explain the concept of variables, that how variables are declared and define the value. Okay, now second approach is what I'm going to do is I am not going to, define the value. I'm going to take value from the user. Okay. So take an example of instance type. I don't want instance type to be given. I want to keep my code, my configuration dynamic. I want to give the end user flexibility that let my user decide that what instance type my user want. And the same I can do with AMI ID also. Okay. It can be with any variable. Okay. I will just show you the instance type because giving input for AMI ID will take time. It has combination of numbers and alphabets. In real time, you can do copy paste. That is what mostly you do with AMI IDs. So scenario is when this instance is going to be created, Akhil, AMI ID is fine. It will take it from this variable. But when it comes to instance type, what I want as your configuration should prompt the user and ask that, hey, what instance type you want to use for your EC2? And then let user decide that they want T2 micro, T3 micro, whatever they want. So let them input as, and then you take that input and process it to create my instance. So in that case, what I will do is, you see, I will declare variable instance type. I'm using it here, but I don't have any value for here. There is no value. It's empty. I will put one description here. And I will put a description saying enter instance type for just a meaningful message, for end user EC2. That's it. And now I'm going to save this file. No change in main.tf file. Is it as it is? What I did, I just removed the default argument from this instance type variable. And instead of that, I used an argument called description. Description argument is just for giving a meaningful message to the end user who will be giving an input to your configuration. Now you see, if I run Terraform plan, see what happens now. Terraform is prompting me that, hey, there's a variable called instance type. Please enter the instance type for EC2. Enter a value. So this message is because of my description. If you don't want this message, you can ignore this. It's not mandatory. But in that case, sometime end user might not understand that what value has to be given. So that is why always, as a good developer, you should always put a description so that the end user understands that, okay, what input has to be given. So now I know that I have to give instance type. So I can say, okay, what I want is I want t2.micro. So user will give this input. Now when user press enters, it is not going to ask me for AMI ID because I already have a default value. You see, it says one plan to add, but now if you check the instance type, what is the instance type applied? t2.micro. Okay. So now this code is flexible. Anybody can use this, can give the choice. They can give whatever they want. For example, next time another user run this and he said, I want t3.micro. I don't want t2. So when user enters t3, it prompts. And again, if you check now, it has changed to t3.micro.
Thank you so much for staying with us till the end of the video. Now all you have to do is just click the link in the description below and you will be taken to this page. Now enter your name, enter your email ID, enter phone number and select on your preference. Now click on register now. Then you will be redirected to a thank you page. Now you can add this session to a Google Calendar or Apple Calendar, and I promise that this is something that you don't want to miss. So go ahead, click on the link and step into the world where learning knows no boundaries. Till then, keep enjoying. I'll see you in the next video.